All right, good morning again, and thank you for joining this month's Worksoft webinar, Drive Oracle Change with Codeless Automation. I'm Austin Chandler, Senior Content Manager at Worksoft and your host for today's webinar. Today's presentation will be recorded and a link to the on-demand session will be available for those who are unable to attend or those who wish to share or review the information. Due to a large number of participants, lines are muted. We'll answer some questions at the end of our presentation. Please use the question feature to submit one. If we don't get to your question due to time constraints, we'll send you an email reply. Today, Worksoft Solution Engineer Brian Albertelli will be discussing how the Worksoft platform can reduce risk, increase value, and make life easier throughout your whole organization, no matter where you are in your Oracle implementation. Using code-free end-to-end testing, the Worksoft platform empowers users to secure and scale automation across applications with process intelligence. Without diving in too much, I'll hand it over to Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Austin, and hey out there. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Really happy that you took some time to learn a little bit about how Worksoft can help, as Austin just mentioned. I began my Oracle journey as a ERP cloud solution engineer back in 2015, and I've been with Worksoft now just about over a year. And it was there working at Oracle, I really learned firsthand about Oracle's cloud story and how impressive it really is. And we've been following at Worksoft Oracle's story, Oracle's progress, especially in the cloud, since 1998. And to kick things off, rather than bore you with something silly, right, we want to get right into a little bit of detail on this particular story, because you may know that Oracle is well known for their database, and they've been a long major player. You know, that's how the company was founded. But back in 2001, they introduced a product called e-business suite, also known as EBS. But there's a couple other kind of legacy ERP, big solutions that Oracle offers, and both Oracle and PeopleSoft were trying to acquire JD Edwards back in 2004. And right then, PeopleSoft actually closed on that, and as soon as PeopleSoft acquired JD Edwards, Oracle acquired both of them in traditional fashion. And it was about that same time as that acquisition that Oracle's fearless leader realized, that there's a change coming with the cloud. And Oracle made one of their biggest bets yet, arguably the biggest. And that was all about starting from scratch and blending all of these features together into one platform, right? But the big difference was everything was going to be web enabled, whether you're accessing from a mobile device, from an iPad, or from your desktop, you're going to access via the web. In the back end, everything was designed and engineered to work together on the cloud, right? Oracle's big uniqueness is across the back end, the middleware, and the front end, it's all Oracle. And that latest version of Fusion, or Oracle Cloud, is what we see here on the screen. And this is their big push forward, or the kind of the long-term solution, the future of interactivity with business applications. If you haven't heard from them yet about moving to the cloud from an apps perspective, I'm sure you're hear about it very soon. But maybe you're on the call and you're thinking, well, none of these are the Oracle that we use, Brian. Well, Oracle, as we know, is the summation of 144, 145, I think now, unique acquisitions. And some of the most notable here, right? Maybe you're on the call and you're using NetSuite, right? Founded by somebody who was an Oracle employee, got executive sponsorship, and then Oracle reacquired them, which is actually the first cloud application software company out there. Or maybe you're in the construction space and you're using Aconex. A well-known construction application known for its VR and AR technologies. It's great for architects and construction managers. Or one of the biggest acquisitions of Cerner, this new focus on healthcare, right? This company brought the totals up to about 170,000 employees. But why do we talk about all this? Well, it's because as you look towards automation, and as you look towards trying to become more efficient and reducing risk, you got to keep up with the times. And what is happening from an Oracle perspective? Well, everything that we've shown you so far today is really web-based. So if you're trying to automate, understand process, move forward with Oracle's rapid innovation, you're going to need a partner that works well with web technologies. You also notice that Oracle is increasingly focused on new industries, having an industry-focused message. So you're going to need a partner that works in all industries, has different industry experience. And with all of that in mind, the key difference between legacy products at Oracle and the latest products with Oracle is the argument of configuration versus customization. Oracle has these new quarterly releases that is continuously speeding up. It's not the same Oracle from the past. There is new functionality getting released at such a rapid pace that your team needs to be prepared and to have a competitive advantage in order to keep up with these change so that you can drive key business outcomes from initiatives like automation. But most companies in the world don't just run one application. And if you're on the line, that's likely you as well. Companies have a unique landscape depending on their environment. You run multiple different apps. Unfortunately, as you try to help out certain areas of the business, it kind of creates fragmented solutions. And as you roll out new features, functionality, new processes, and you try to innovate continuously, unfortunately, this fragmentation creates a poor experience sometimes, let alone the increasing technology risk. So as any one company undergoes change, the scariest risk isn't related just to Oracle, or just to a multiple of applications. The biggest challenge of all, as you go after efficiency, innovation, and reducing risk, is the visibility problem. So let's talk about this in a little bit more detail so we can understand why this visibility problem is such a challenge and how we can help solve for this blind issue using the Worksoft approach. I come from an accounting background, right? So as I think about a process, you always want it to be relatively straightforward, right? And especially as you're designing it and you start with this, you didn't really know exactly what the activities are, but you know that it has to flow through in a particular order. And that's what our teams do as we start to implement Oracle Cloud or other solutions. You know, it has a clear beginning and end, and it's relatively straightforward. And then you roll it out into production, right? And the teams publish the process and it gets rolling in production. And then, unfortunately, nature takes its course. And as a result, complexity finds its way in, turning the process from this straightforward situation into something a little bit more like this. The unforeseen twists and turns, the loopbacks, the broken paths. And this is what a process really looks like when it ends up in production. So what do we do as a business team? Right. Well, we don't have time to stop and fix it. No, we need to press on. The work, it doesn't stop. We have to keep going. And the complexity grows. It gets tougher and tougher to adopt those new challenges. And eventually you kind of realize that you hit this point where, hey, we don't have enough people to have people just doing these manual tests, these manual activities, these tedious and repetitive activities. So you then turn to automation and you say, oh, if we automate it, it'll be way faster. It'll be way easier for us. But before you do that, it is so important. We need to understand what all the detailed steps are in that process first. So what do? Well, we do time and motion studies. We have whiteboarding sessions with those production users. We try to have these one-on-one interviews to understand how each individual contributes to the overall process. And even after all that effort, sometimes it still feels like a big bowl of processed spaghetti. a hairball, right? Well, albeit this is just a representation of a jumbled, chaotic production process. The point is, it traditionally takes a ton of effort to understand what the process looks like. And even worse, lots of the times after doing all that work, you still feel like you're starting automation with no visibility into what that complexity really is happening in the system. You're always missing details. You're going back and forth, trying to understand, slowing down even more as the whole focus was trying to automate. It's so rare to walk into an automation build and get handed a map, a perfect map of how everything flows from start to end. You might realistically get a training manual, maybe some time to sit with the super users, kind of look over their shoulders. That's about it. So when it comes to automation, we just got to get going with what we have, right? Because that's the initiative. Meanwhile, the business, on the other hand, they know right? You guys are probably sitting there, listen, we know that the process isn't perfect. We still have to push on. You might even be losing money, losing revenue as a result of these inefficient processes. So the questions we at Worksoft are hearing and are getting asked are things like this. How do we deal with this complexity? What do we do? How do we transform amidst it? How do we optimize efficiently so we can start moving out of the hairball situation into a streamlined process, which was the blueprint at the beginning? So what do companies do? Well, buy software. They buy solutions. They buy process-specific solutions. Things like task mining that captures the user's steps, what steps they are taking to complete those processes. This gives us the opportunity to correct mistakes and kind of optimize and provide coaching to our users so that we can make sure that they're doing the right things. Also buy process mining solutions to investigate the system level events that are taking place. You're looking for optimization opportunities and surfacing those hidden issues that maybe the users don't realize they're doing or don't share that they're doing, not intentionally, but it helps paint that bigger picture of, oh, what is happening in our system. Companies also look to test automation to support processes in dev, in test, in pre-production environments, so that we can catch those issues sooner without having to use so much human labor. So they can keep this functioning while development continues to deploy these fixes, right? It gives us that kind of foresight into what's coming next. And then on the other end of that, people use production automation as digital workers to assist those users so they have more time to do process optimization, higher value work, while the digital workers kind of reduce the stress as they carry out some of those easy tasks. All of these are great steps forward, but they also have limits to how far that visibility can go. Task mining can't see what's happening beneath the surface. It's only seeing the user's steps that are shared. And process mining can't see above the surface. It only sees what's happening underneath. Automation has no production visibility. It's all about before we get to production, and conversely, the production automation can't really see into pre-production to know if that next release from Oracle in the next quarter is going to break everything that they have built already. So what if we were able to take the commonalities between all of these different process solutions, the process model, the activity, the frequency, how long it took, and pulled them together and combined them into one holistic process view? We could leverage that data to dramatically increase the ease in which we build test automation as well as the effectiveness of that test automation so that when we get to production, it's more predictable. We know the environment that we're getting into. And this blended data set, blue here are things that are automated, white are steps that have been captured and could be automated but aren't automated yet. The different dots on the screen represent where this information is coming from. We'll go into this in a little bit more detail later. But this blended data set leads to all sorts of really great goodies. Things like being able to see what is automated, what isn't automated, what we should automate next, where are we going off of our blueprint, what is the potential ROI from automating a particular task. And it's bringing all of this data together is what Worksoft does today. We take test results from our test automation, production automation results, and we layer it all together with this production process data from multiple mining tools and our own capture tool, which records user steps step by step through the process. We pull all of that together in our connected automation platform and surface that information, giving us visibility into the entire process from all of the different lenses. And you don't need all of this information to start painting the picture, but the more you can pull together, the more clear that picture will be and the better recommendations that our platform will give you on what to do next. Whether it's identifying which processes are slow or could be improved, or recommendations on what we should automate next. We didn't get here overnight. It's taken a lot of time, effort, and focus in order to create this powerful solution. And what we're presenting here is what's available in the market today. And the key is that our philosophy, which we're going to cover in a lot more detail momentarily, applies to every application in the market today. Regardless of your solution, the visibility problem can be solved using the Worksoft. You won't be the first to realize this either. We've had over 300 customers today using the Worksoft connected automation platform to create efficiencies, reduce risk, and increase process visibility to drive innovation and understanding all around the globe. But really, what's this experience like? How does it work? What does it look like? Let's take a closer view. What you're seeing on the screen now is our process intelligence dashboard. I'm going to point out a couple of key areas that'll help you digest this. Up at the top, this is where we can take our production data, and this automatically starts projecting potential enterprise saving across our three big buckets. The process optimization bucket in purple is looking at our production performance. The business process testing in blue is looking at our test automation. And at the bottom, the connective RPA, the production automation, is looking at production automation. It's giving us some very important metrics here. Just above the green circle, it's automatically calculating our coverage. It's saying, hey, you've already automated 30% of this activity and we've saved you a ton of time. And as processes are running, this gets continuously updated. And then using your data, your costing information that you use for ROI calculations anyways, we're presenting a realized value back to you in real time. On the right, you'll see it broken out by a different area. So as an automation team, as an IT team, as a center of excellence group, as you work with the different departments, you instantly then can provide them back information about all the value that you've created and how much more value you will create soon. guiding you with this is it presents to us top targets for optimization from our processes. So that hairball that we talked about before, this bowl of spaghetti, it's now broken out into processes, and we can make sense of that data instantly, solving that visibility problem. All of those different variants, they're easy to see. And as new processes are rolled out, we can identify great targets for process optimization. Drill down into this information as well when you need to understand the details of the process. So we have the process view. And this is that where the little breakdown of that diagram we saw earlier. This blended view of the different process data sources visualizes and tells us what's been automated across our order to cash process. Those are the blue items and the teal items. What hasn't been automated is in white. And along that, it's easy, right? You look at this and you go, yep, that red line, that's got to be an opportunity, because that's an area where there's a slowdown between steps. Drilling further, you can look into understand why that happens. So what do we get from this? Well, we get this all-in-one view of everything that's happening at a process level. You can filter, you can drill down as needed, and if there's actions that needs to be taken, you can handle that on the right-hand side of the screen. I can quickly mark a particular activity as being something that we should automate, or I can generate documentation that might help with re-education to improve my processes. So we just took a look at process intelligence, and this is kind of the end state. Get to see all of the benefits of tackling that visibility problem with the Worksoft approach. Where I want to go next is, with our remaining time, I want to switch gears and take a closer look at the tip of the spear. And that is process capture in yellow. And process capture works as the tip of the spear because it has to be said. Without capture, trying to understand our users' activity in production systems is quite simply a challenge. Think about, how do I get an understanding of what to automate? Well, as we talked about, right? We sit down with the subject matter expert, the business analyst, the accountant, the HR representative, the salesperson. We kind of look over their shoulder and they explain to us, oh, first thing I do is X and then Y and then Z. And then ideally, that SME already has this documented in some sort of way, full of screenshots, so that they can pass that off to the automation team. But most SMEs at the end of the day just quite simply don't have time for this because there's just too much work to do. So imagine if also you started asking them, well, hey, do you mind just automating that process on your own as kind of a citizen developer? And also, if you have time, do you mind breaking it down into a Visio diagram or a flow chart? Maybe that exists already and you're really ahead of the game. But what we're finding is that getting those results, it takes so long. And the SMEs always, I have too much work to do. I have to do my job. I can't stop doing what I'm doing to pivot, to try to take a different approach. So rather than asking an SME to do all of that, we ask those SMEs to use capture, because capture takes down not just 2 birds with 1 stone, but 3 birds with 1 stone. Capture gives us automation, capture gives us documentation, and capture gives us that functional understanding by way of the process intelligence and visual representation of that process. What I'm going to do now is hop back into a live demo environment, and I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is for capture to help us in understanding that. It's a very simple process. So I'm just pulling up my system now, and boom, There we go. So on the left-hand side, you see Oracle Cloud. We are logged in as a demo user. We have access to accounting and procurement areas. And what I've been asked to do is a part of, like, right, I got a request from a new vendor, a new supplier. We're going to buy some materials from them, and I've been introduced to Capture, right? And the automation team has said, hey, Brian, the next time you create a supplier, would you mind just using Capture so that we can pull that into the picture so we can see if it's a good opportunity? And this is as easy as it is, folks. It's as easy as turning on Capture and just going to work. You'll notice that this is a very familiar step to those that are using Oracle already today, right? We navigated over, we selected procurement. We're going to open up the task drawer. And on the right-hand side, you'll notice that Capture is listening, and it's turning our action into a simple, easy to understand business narrative. As I type the different tests, oh, this is a real supplier. So this is actually Joe's Crab Shack. So it's patient, it's waiting, it's listening for that action to be complete. All of these drop downs, whether you're on this little pop-up field within Create Supplier, or you're 3 steps down in Project Accounting in this Functional Setup Manager, all of the drop downs are the same because Oracle has that approach towards the Redwood user interface, right? All of the drop downs have the same format, and we listen to them better than anybody. So as we select these different drop downs, as we work with the different areas, it knows that input Joe's. Select the item that is equal to perspective, right? Like, it's providing this information in a very easy to understand type of way. So as we navigate through and we complete creating our supplier, we're done, right? We save this off, and what do we get for it? Well, just by saving it off, you get a couple of things. The first thing that we talked about that we get is documentation. And that document, just by going through that simple Capture flow, it took all of 25, 30 seconds. We now have this document business flow diagram, right? First, we went to the launch pad, then we created a supplier, and then we kind of started editing that supplier. The documentation has everything that you would need to be able to send this to whoever to understand how to replicate that process. It has that business narrative, left click to procurement link. Think about all the time that it would take to take these screenshots, to pull it through, to add the little narrative. As we went through that entire process, it now has documentation that's instantly available. Whether you're on Oracle Cloud, whether you're still using EBS, right? We work great with Oracle Forms as well. All of that. You can seamlessly bounce back and forth. Maybe you're on JD Edwards, right? And on JD Edwards, they have their unique language. And we're pulling all of that into that same easy to understand business narrative. We also get that visualization. So one of the coolest parts about Capture is that you can give it to everybody. They can use it and they can share it. They can save their information. And so for effect, right, as each one of these captures comes through, it starts to build out that picture, right? And it's not just one at a time, right? We use artificial intelligence and machine learning to always present the best view of that entire process. And the whole point of all of this is that we are trying to measure, right, from the beginning, that blueprint, that is the gold standard. We want to measure ourselves against where are we deviating from that process. So we plug that in first. We then have our target. We can now understand the different steps that we should automate, steps that we could automate, and we now have that complete picture and the ability to then pull all of this information together so that we can fully understand where to drive our initiative. So to recap, Capture gives us a lot of benefit with a very small amount of effort. It works on production systems, it works on test systems. You can even reuse those assets back and forth between test automation and production automation using Worksoft. But at the end of the day, where the real value comes in is not just being able to understand what people had done, but why. It's easy to add comments along the way to say, hey, you don't just need to test, you don't just need to do this with Joe's Crab Shack. We need to do this with Dell and Pep Boys, and and we can capture all of that information in one file swoop. We can roll Capture out to the production team. We can roll it out to the IT team. We can roll it out to business analysts, and we then come together and have this one holistic view on everything about our process, giving us that full understanding, that ability to crowdsource automation. So what oftentimes our customers do is the next time that they're approaching a manual test, right? We got another release here, I think either just came out or is about to come out for Fusion, finishing up the first 3 months of the year. The next time you do a manual test, all you have to do is introduce Capture, and you can start to paint that picture of your processes. Because with Oracle Cloud, everything is configured, right? Your process is going to be close to another customer's, but it won't be exactly the same. So use Capture to accelerate that understanding, to get you ready to automate, as well as to start to create that documentation that you need to provide great education for your users, creating a really powerful experience. So in closing, using Worksoft's Capture, it's a great way to minimize disruption, manage risk, and maximize our process understanding, ultimately overcoming that visibility problem, leading you on a path that you can keep up with Oracle's rapid innovation. Austin, did we get any questions out there in the Q&A area?
Yeah, we've got a couple of them. The first one is, does Worksoft Capture work with Oracle EBS Forms, JDE, PeopleSoft, NetSuite? Things like that.
What a great question. The simple answer is yes, absolutely. If you'd like to see any of that in action, please reach out to us. But Worksoft works with nearly every technology in the exact same way. Even if you have some old school Java app or a mainframe application, we have that ability to understand those steps and start to paint the picture with that as well. Yes.
Great. And the other one we got was, does Worksoft provide any pre-built assets?
Now, this is a really fun question, and it's an important one too, because there's really two major schools of thought around developing automation assets or capturing this. The simple answer to this is, as of today, we do not provide any pre-built assets. The reason why is important though, because most of the time when folks ask about pre-built assets, it's usually a template. And a template is useful, but in our research, we're still fine-tuning it all, but what we're seeing is that it's actually faster, even for the basic steps, to use Capture to build out that automation rather than using some type of template. So we don't provide pre-built assets today. However, Capture gives you a leg up, because oftentimes you'll see these solutions that provide all of the Legos in the box, and you can start dragging and dropping the Legos together. We can do that too, but it's faster to use Capture because Capture is not a recorder. Capture uses the Worksoft patented technology in order to create objects and actions on the fly and orchestrating those into the right pattern. So rather than having to put all of your blocks together, using Capture, it's like being able to assemble Legos way faster than anybody else. So at this time, we don't provide any pre-built assets. However, why are pre-built assets so important? Well, they're viewed as an accelerator. And I have some very exciting news to share on our next webinar about the details of what Worksoft's Oracle Accelerator is going to entail. So very exciting stuff. Thank you for the questions. That's what I had for today. Austin, were there any other questions out on the line?
There were not any other questions this week. Thanks, Brian, and thank you to everyone for joining us this morning. I hope you gained some insights that you can apply to your organization's Oracle implementation wherever you are in your journey. As we said before, a link to this recording will be sent out within the next business day for anyone who wishes to review or share the information. But other than that, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.